Hello, welcome to 7 Minutes of Science with me, your host, Eddie Edwards, here to bring you all of the top science stories in the world this week for Mission Acceptable. Pretty interesting week this week. We've got 2 space rockets, some interesting stories about the moon, and an interesting story about the fall from grace of a once great scientist. So, without further ado, let's give me 7 minutes on the clock, and in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right, Monday, great news from the guys at Nature magazine, and that news is that they will no longer be requiring payment for you to get access to their articles. For those of you that don't know a lot about scientific journals, they used to function like journals. You bought them from a shop, that's how they made a profit. Once the internet came along, they kind of kept that mentality and changed over to a subscription service. So a lot of their articles, sometimes the things I very much link to from here, can be behind paywalls. The problem with that's not so bad in and of itself, but then the fact that if you are a government, you're doing science, you still need to get that published and reviewed, because of course you do. You need it needs external peer review. Otherwise, a government could claim that their science proved anything, like for example that certain people were untermensch and certain people were ubermensch. So you don't want that. So you need this publication. But that means that I, as a taxpayer, am paying for the research to be done, but then need to pay money to read the research, which, as you can see, isn't a great system. So this new system's come out. They're going to allow anybody to read it, and it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for science, but weirdly, it's going to be great for the journals, because they can now sell advertising based on information about who's reading the journals, who's looking at them, who's sharing them, who's looking at these articles. Because they didn't have that data before, because people were just downloading PDFs from the internet and sharing it around without any input from the magazine. So, great news. Go check out Nature's new look website. Have a look at some of the stuff there, and let's hope that it works and more science journals do the same. Now we go on to Tuesday. The ESA, high off its recent Rosetta success, has just pledged over 5.9 billion euros in development funds for a whole slew of space-based projects, including funding the ISS, a Mars rover, and a new rocket, the Orion 6. The Orion 5 has been used for some time by the ESA, but it's quite an expensive one to produce. It's believed that some of the developments made since then could help the Orion 5 be simpler to produce and therefore cheaper, thus reducing costs. In addition to that, it'll have a modular design, might even be able to use parts from the smaller Italian Vega rocket as propulsion. Now, the money being put forward for this is approximately £4.7416 billion. Obviously, they're doing it in euros, hence the weird number. And it's been put forward by the big 3 scientific nations of Europe. That's France, Germany, and of course, Luxembourg. I'm not making that up. Luxembourg are putting more money into this than we are, Britain. Okay, and to put that into perspective for you, because I know we're a nation of penny pinchers, we spent 37 billion on the Iraq War. It's estimated that as many as 121,227 civilians died in Iraq. So Britain spent roughly 300,000 killing each of those civilians, which means that instead of buying this rocket, we could have killed 15,000 people who looked a bit like people we didn't like. I'd rather spend the money on the rocket. Sorry, I got angry about that one. Wednesday brings us a story from the world of archaeology, which let's pretend for a moment is actual science. And no, it's not the discovery of a Stargate. Love that show. What it is all of our understanding brought together to bear on a single project. There's an Iron Age fortification which houses a medieval castle just outside of Salisbury, and we now have a full plan for the medieval city that was once there without having to dig at all, by combining magnetometry, earth resistance, ground penetrating radar, and electric resistivity tomography. The team working at the University of Southampton have produced an incredibly accurate map of what the city once looked like. It looks like the old geophysics has come on leaps and bounds since I stopped watching Time Team. Fond memories. Anyway, Thursday, the moon used to be magnetic. We've known for some time that the moon at one point had a magnetic field, and it was hypothesized that this was from asteroids slamming into it, like when you bang a nail with a hammer and the nail becomes magnetic. I'm kind of guessing here. I'm with the insane clown posse on magnets.
Fucking magnets, how do they work? And
Side note, I had to watch an entire Insane Clown Posse to find that one song, to find that one line, and they are bloody awful. Anyways, back to the news. It's now been discovered by Benjamin Weiss of MIT and Sonia Tico at the University of California that the moon probably once had a magnetic field that rivals the one our Earth has today. Like Earth's, it was generated by a magnetic core spinning at the heart of it. And this really, again, makes me think, how do we not know everything about the moon yet? It has been above us in the sky literally the entire time we've had eyes to look at it. It's mental to me that we're finding out new information about something like that. That's just crazy. Friday, first unmanned flight of NASA's Orion spacecraft went well enough that the mission control commentator called it the most perfect flight you could imagine. Some great science and space exploration news to come out of some really spotty science news. Even Rosetta had its wobbles, and the stuff with Virgin Galaxy. This is a great story to me, because it's just a positive one. Croft launch completed 2 full orbits of the Earth at great distance, returned 4 hours and 24 minutes later, having travelled further and faster than any mission since Apollo 17, and with good reason. This is part of NASA's plan to launch a manned mission to Mars by 2030, as part of an ongoing attempt to show how petty America is. You could have gone to Mars at any point since Apollo 17, America. You really could have, and you didn't. And now suddenly India's got an orbiter around Mars, the Chinese have landed a rover on the moon, and the ESA gets itself to a comet. Is it that you want to go to Mars, or do you just not want to get there second? I'm just saying. And all I'm going to say right now to the ESA, if you are watching this, which is very unlikely, but if you are, first of all, I loved your shirt. Second of all, don't let them win. Right? Okay. And finally, electric eels can seize control of their prey using electricity, by which I mean they can both stun and make their victims jerk to reveal their position. So basically proving that electricity powers are the best powers. They should totally make a movie where the bad guy has electricity powers. Never mind. This study run by Kenneth Catania has discovered that they aren't just electrocuting their victims, but actually using the charge to directly control the muscles of their prey, which is freaking insane. When they can't find prey but are hungry, they send out little double pulses, which make the stuff they're hiding jerk out of its hiding position, and then they gobble it up in what has to be the most terrifying death in nature. You lose control of your own body, jump out into the face of your predator, who then eats you while electrocuting you. That's just terrible. Okay, and then finally, James Watson, one of the co-discoverers of DNA, along with Maurice Wilkins and Francis Crick, and of course Rosalind Franklin, who you probably don't know about but did most of the actual work, but you haven't heard of because she's a woman and our society is terrible. I mean, seriously, what do women need to do to get proper recognition in this field? I could do an entire web series on just badass women from science, and one day I may do that. Except I'm a man, I shouldn't talk about that. I'll get a woman to do it so that it's fairer and more balanced. Anyway, he's auctioning off his Nobel Prize, James Watson. First time it's ever been done by a living recipient. Should net him a couple of million. Christmas is coming up. Remember your favourite science show host. And he's doing it because he's been largely ostracised from the scientific community for some non-controversial comments he made. I say non-controversial because there's no controversy. Everyone just agrees he's really racist. So, yeah. Under 7 minutes. Yeah. But, I'm sorry I had to end on a really down note of just James Watson, the man who discovered DNA, is a racist. But on the other hand, cool thing about science is you may have discovered something interesting, you may have discovered something cool, you might have made the biggest breakthrough of the last 100 years. But if you're wrong, and no one has to agree with you or tolerate your positions. And for those curious, I'm going to post an actual link, but I feel I should just say on the show what he actually said. It was back in 2007, and this bugs me. He said he has no real hope for Africa because all of the policy decisions we make about Africa is based on the assumption that black people are as intelligent as white people, which apparently, according to James Watson, isn't true. This is very quickly going to turn into a rant about me slagging off James Watson, rather than me doing the outro to the show at this point, which is what I should be doing. So I'm going to stop now and just say that James Watson, thank you for stealing Rosalind Franklin's work and pretending to discover DNA. You are a dick and a racist, and we don't really need you that much. So, bye. Go away. So thank you for watching. I know some people watching it say technically that counts as overrunning, but that isn't actually from the script. I just realised, I didn't realise when I wrote this how annoyed I was with James Watson for being a racist. Because, the guy discovered DNA. He should be cooler than that. And also he knows there's no data to back that up. Anyway, thank you for watching 7 Minutes of Science. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, if you like the show, like the show. If you think somebody you know might like the show, share the show. And if you want to see more of what we're doing, please give the subscribe button a click. Small thing you can do for us, but it means a lot. And until next time, good luck in your endeavours. If your endeavours be good. Goodbye.